Thank you everybody for being here today. We're going to start off our news conference to make some public safety announcements from Mayor Keller. And with that, I'll let Mayor Keller kick it off.
Okay, thanks so much. Before I begin, a couple of things. We certainly are happy to take lots of questions after. So Gilbert will help moderate us through that. And I want to begin actually by taking us back just a little bit to when I was fortunate enough to be given a historic third term by the voters. One of the things that I talked about often on the campaign trail was the need for two things in terms of leadership at City Hall. One is a set of experienced, seasoned leadership that's strong and can get us through tough times. And I think we have an announcement that very much fits in with that. I also said that we need some fresh talent. We need some folks from outside the city to come and help us. We are also going to announce one of those positions today. So also I want to touch on the search process. We want to thank everyone that participated in the search process in one way or another. There were over 1,000 Burqueños that chimed in, whether it was on surveys or some of our online forums. And we heard loud and clear that folks wanted a number of things. Number one, they want progress fighting crime. That's pretty clear and we understand that. We also heard that they want integrity, they want trust. We also heard that they want accessibility, and they also want collaboration across the criminal justice system, and APD in many ways, and the city of Albuquerque to play a key role in that. And also collaboration across branches of public responders. And we know in Albuquerque, we're fortunate to have 3 public responding entities. And of course, most folks know that, but just by way of refresher, when you call 911, you get police, you get fire, or in Albuquerque, wonderfully, you get the Community Safety Department and the team of social workers and other trained professionals with lived experience who help with all sorts of non-criminal issues and non-urgent life support measures or fires. And so that, of course, is headed by Jody Escabel, our director of the Community Safety Department. So we heard about the need for collaboration across those and continued support for the Community Safety Department. So that's why, accordingly, today I'm announcing Cecily Barker as our new Chief of Police. Please give her a quick round of applause. She, of course, has been serving as interim chief, which is really the ultimate interview. And she has 22 years of experience. She knows the department, she knows the community, and she has had an exemplary track record to date. She's a proven leader. She has both led reforms and also transformations, especially in the investigative department or bureau that she really revamped. That's where I think she really made a name for herself throughout the department. And then, of course, most recently, she's been over field and really stepped up efforts there that have led to our crime stats actually going down. Not only last year, but it started the year before that and continue in most categories, especially homicide. Now, we also know that we want to keep that momentum going and continue that leadership. And that's why we're making her our next chief of police. Now, we're going to hear from each one of these folks, but I do want to announce our second appointee today. And so we heard again from that public process that we want a new layer of coordination and leadership and accountability across the public safety system. And that's why we are appointing Raul Buhanda as our Public Safety Executive Director. Now, Raul's right there. If you don't know who he is, give him a round of applause. He should be a familiar face to those of you who have followed the city. He, of course, has been in charge of the FBI for a number of years until he retired about a couple of years ago. And we'll go into his background in a little bit. But you may also know him as the FBI lead on the Muslim shooting case when we were working with all agencies to try and track down the perpetrator there, which we did. And of course, more recently, the DWI corruption scandal. He was the person on the other end doing the crime fighting, in that case, the opposite direction, holding our agencies, whether it was the multiple agencies involved, accountable. And so Raul is going to join us in the Public Safety Executive Director role. That means he will be in charge of all 3 departments, police, fire, and community safety. His focus will be coordinating those, and also, most importantly, I think, the criminal justice system sort of management link between us and everyone from the courts to the DA to the feds to state law enforcement, even to state legislators and funding, and coordinating with APS and coordinating with UNM. All of those kinds of things are part and parcel for what this role is. Short reminder, this role has existed before in Albuquerque. We'll send you information on this. And I will say this, it's a role that I actually wanted to fill and create since I got this job. I think at least the last two mayors have recognized the need for this position. And the need is even more clear now that we have a third branch of first responders in ACS. But frankly, I could never find the right person. And so we very much believe we've got the right person now for the job. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hand it over to first the chief, then we're going to hear from our CAO, and then we're going to hear from our Executive Director of Public Safety. So before I hand it over to Cecily, I just want to acknowledge that first and foremost, we're trying to build a public safety system that is not just reactive. It's strategic, it's preventative, and it's collaborative. And we also know that we have to support ACS as a full peer response department. And so that's part of the reason why we have this role as well. And we want to make sure that we're putting proven leaders in place, aligning our entire public safety system, and also have enough experience in place to make sure that we keep doing the things that work, and fundamentally make sure that we can deliver on an Albuquerque that deserves to feel safe. So with that, let's hear from our new Chief of Police, Cecily Barker.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take the opportunity to both thank you and the CAO for this opportunity. I'm really excited for the opportunity to work with Raul as our Public Safety Director. Like Mayor stated, we do have a working partnership with Raul, and I look forward to continuing that. I am extremely humbled and honored to continue to serve the Albuquerque Police Department as the next police chief. This city is where I was born and raised. APD is where I've spent my career in public service. I deeply care about the community and the people that we serve every day. I've been part of this department through every stage of reform. Before the federal consent decree, during its early implementation as a supervisor, and later as a deputy chief while we worked to meet those requirements. That experience has shaped how I lead today. We've made important changes that have strengthened both accountability and transparency, and those improvements are here to stay. At the same time, we remain focused on our core mission, which is reducing crime throughout Albuquerque. The men and women of this police department have done an outstanding job, and we are seeing real progress because of their efforts. Over the past several months, I've spent time listening to officers, to the community, and to our professional staff. What I've heard is consistent. We all want a safer Albuquerque. Moving forward, we are building on that shared goal. We will continue to hold ourselves to the highest standards, strengthen trust with the community, and stay focused on results. We've made the changes to be more accountable, and we're proving that we can do that while we proactively address crime throughout the city. Now it's about maintaining that momentum, continuing to drive down crime, and ensure that every person in Albuquerque feels safe. It's a privilege to serve alongside the men and women of this police department and to continue to serve the community. And I thank you again for this opportunity, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, all right, Samantha.
Great. Good afternoon. As Mayor Keller said, many of you already know Raul Bujanda from his role in leading the FBI here in New Mexico. And as we discussed, Raul led the investigation into the unlawful scheme involving defense attorneys here in New Mexico and DWI officers with multiple law enforcement agencies. It takes someone who is beyond reproach to conduct that type of investigation. Raul's commitment to and his experience with working across the criminal justice system are major assets for us as we build trust with the community, as has been expressed as the community's goals and desire for the city of Albuquerque. We are transforming the idea of public safety with 3 departments of first responders, with fire, police, and Albuquerque's community safety department, all responding when the call comes in. We need collaboration with the entire public safety system, and that includes city councilors, legislators, our business leaders, and the public. We all have to be working together. And I believe Raul will be a valuable part of of our leadership team. As he joins our team, I look forward to our ability to expand how we deliver on Mayor Keller's focus of ensuring that our city government is working for our residents. I look forward to working with you, Raul, and I appreciate that I will work together to support our frontline first responders and those working in public safety. So with that, I want to make sure we invite Raul up for an opportunity to meet the group.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Samantha, CEO. Thank you, Mayor. Your team has been amazing, just kind of the welcome that I've received. And it's great to start a new job where I don't have to move somewhere. It's great to be part of a community that I've been here for the last 4 years for myself and my family. And that's such a pleasure because Albuquerque means so much to all of us. And to the residents of the city, it's an honor to stand before you in this new role. I always hate, and you've all probably know this about me, I hate talking about myself. But I think as you all know me, I am Raul Bujanda. I am grateful for the opportunity to just start serving this community again, because more than anything, I've never stopped caring. I follow everything that happens between the city of Albuquerque, and it's just a pleasure just to be back. Over the past several years, including my role as special agent in charge of the FBI for Albuquerque, but also for the state of New Mexico, I've got to work with these great men and women that I get to be a part of their team. I get to be a part of AFR, the police department, and ACS. What a great new opportunity for all of us as a city to really kind of push what it means to be keeping our community safe. To our officers in APD, who I know very well, I've seen your commitment to taking violent offenders off of the streets. I know you're committed to it. And some of you might have questions that might come up related to that, but I can tell you that this department, when it came down to APD, and especially when we're talking about what like Samantha mentioned related to the DWI scandal, opened really the doors to kind of say, help us get rid of the few that are causing us a negative. Because the large vast of what this department's all about is doing the right thing every single day. To the firefighters and paramedics of AFR, I recognize the roles that you're premier agency, and it's going to be a pleasure working alongside you. Every time we got into a jam, we always call the fire department, so we know that you do an outstanding job, and that's not going to change. To the responders of ACS, that just everything that I've learned about it, not just here, but also looking at nationwide, that is the model that's going to kind of move us forward. The data tells us that technology is going to drive us into the directions that we need to be moving so that we can be responding with the resources that our community needs. If we're not providing what the community needs, then we are missing the mark. And when we throw resources at it because they call 911, so we traditionally always send, obviously, police department, but that's not necessarily what's always needed. And if we can get better about sending the right resources so people can actually get what they need, then we are really starting to make an impact for our communities. Mayor Keller has set forward a vision that is both practical and forward-thinking. I fully support the vision. I am committed to help deliver on that collaboration that he talked about, and also to be dedicated to not only our leaders that we have within our department, but also across Albuquerque and across the state of New Mexico. I believe deeply in Albuquerque and the citizens of this great community. If you know me, you know that I'm a softie at heart. And I'm a softie at heart because I always want to make sure that we are getting it right. And if we're not getting it right, then I want you to tell me about it, because I will make those changes that need to be made, because I got thick skin when it comes to that. You won't see me change much as far as emotion. This is what you're going to get. Excitement level, low level, this is what you're going to get. But what you're always going to get from me is commitment. It doesn't matter what time of the day. I'm bringing energy, urgency, and a collaborative mindset to this role because a single department can't do this alone. My promise to you is simple. I will listen, I will be present, and I will work every day to earn your trust. Life's not about how hard of a hit you can give. It's about how many hits you can take and keep moving forward. And the city of Burque has taken a few hits, but guess what? Not only have we kind of moved forward, but we also move forward with style. And that's important, because that's who we are. I'm going to make sure that you earn my trust, but not because of the words that I'm going to say, but because of the actions that you're going to see me actually do on a daily basis. I'm excited to get started. I am proud to stand with Mayor Keller and his great team that he's already put together. I'm so excited with Chief Cecily now, because I was rooting for her on the sidelines, like I'm rooting for some of our others. And I am confident that together we are going to move Albuquerque forward in a way that people can see and feel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before we do Q&A, just a couple of things to note. Both of them will be sent down to council as per the city charter, so they will go through the confirmation process. Cecily, Chief Barker, is basically starting now in terms of being chief. She's been interim chief. Raul is a couple of weeks, he'll actually be on the job, so just as a heads up on some timing there. And just want to close by reminding folks that in general, as a city and as a leadership team, that we are committed to trying to make us feel safer each and every day. And we're committed to both sticking with what works and making sure that we do not stray, even though there's pressures one way or another, away from things that are good for Albuquerque, but also making sure that we try new innovative ideas. And this team in place in public safety is an extremely strong team, and we are absolutely here committed to Albuquerque's safety for the foreseeable future. So with that, questions from Gilbert?
Any questions for you guys? Nick?
Yes, I know ACS is a new department and going along and adopting things. Will ACS look at adopting a body camera policy?
I don't know if that's come up before, but you want to address that, Jody?
Sure,
Or whether-
absolutely. Thank you for the question. Once again, I'm Jody Escobar. I'm the Director of Albuquerque Community Safety. Body cams have not come up for us as we respond differently to the public in a way that closely aligns with HIPAA and patient confidentiality. Something that makes us approachable is that we are a different response. We come in, our t-shirts and our insignia, but we kind of don't come with like that big presence, and it makes us approachable. So I value the interaction and the trust that we have gained with our public right now in our communities. And so that hasn't come up. Of course, we're here to have any types of discussion, but feel like the trust with our community is really important.
I would also point out that I think body cameras are used more to capture use of force incidents with police officers who are making arrests. So obviously that's not a factor that happens in these situations. That's same with fire, yeah. Kayla?
Chief Barker, when you were interim, what are some of the biggest struggles and successes that you've seen with APD?
That's a great question. I think one of the struggles is, serving as an interim, you're not permanent. And so it's finding that balance of moving forward, but knowing that you're kind of in the middle, right? As far as the crime, if we look at the trends, we are continuing to move forward very well with that. That includes property crimes and violent crimes and our solve rate. If you look at last year, we had 63 homicides. We solved 60 of those. Some of those were solved this year alone. And so I really think the continued work that we see out of Duke City Stats, which we have once a week, but the communication between all of the bureaus and the teamwork is what I really see as a strength with our police department. Of course.
Any other question? Back there, Monica?
My question is for Buhanda. So Mayor Keller explained that in this role, you're kind of bridging the gap between the public, police, and courts. Can you just kind of explain what you will actually be doing in this role? What will that look like?
So my biggest is going to be removing the obstacles so they can be chiefs. I need the chiefs to actually do their job. I need the politics and everything else that kind of goes behind the scenes that's removed so that they can just focus on the men and women that are committed to our communities. So that's going to be my primary focus.
And then for chain of command, do you answer directly to Mayor Keller, or because you're in charge of all three of these departments now?
To the CAO.
Got it. Okay.
Everyone actually reports to her. Except technically, she is the boss.
Okay.
This is a question for Chief. So in 2024, you and other deputy chiefs wrote an opinion column for the Journal where you talked about APD being ready to move forward past the McClendon settlement. What are your thoughts on that, and how are you hoping to move the department forward from that, if that's still your belief?
It is still my belief. We are working with City Legal, and it is currently in the court process, and so I don't want to speak too much about that, but we're really trying to balance providing resources, working with ACS and our other city departments to make sure that people know what's available to them, but also the safety of the city. And so when we see open air drug use, for example, that's what we're really focusing on as far as crime.
Nick?
It's for the chief, sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
So when you said you grew up here and all that,
Mhm.
I mean, truly a dream. So when you went to the academy, was there something in the academy that prepared you for the moment to become a chief? And then the other question is, being the chief, I mean, that's the big role. What's your legacy that you hope to leave after you leave office?
Fantastic questions. I've shared this with several of the community members that I've talked to and the officers that I've met with. I never joined the police department with any intentions of promoting. In fact, I don't even think I knew when I first came on who my lieutenant was until it was Eric Garcia, who's standing here. But realistically, I just have been a hard worker my entire career, my entire life. When we talk about what prepared me for this, you know, I was an athlete growing up. When Chief Medina was here, we talked about what makes a good team. And I think being a member of a team is what builds that. And that's what I really want to focus on as a chief of police, is having a really strong team moving forward. As far as the legacy, I want people to remember me for someone who supported the officers in the work that they do, and someone who was genuine and made the community better.
I'll start with the negative, go to a positive. You just mentioned Medina. You know, I know you guys worked closely together. Someone, at least one person, is going to say, this is just going to be a continuation of Medina's term. How do you respond to that?
That is a very good question, and it does come up. Harold Medina was my sergeant when I first came on the department, and I think he is a great leader. He did great things, but I will tell you that my leadership style is different than his. And I think coming through the ranks of the police department, you pick and choose what you see in a leader and who you are. And so I think he has really big shoes to fill, but I have my own shoes. And I want people to know that. I think he's a great leader. I credit him for everything he did for our police department, but I'm not Harold. And I'm here to do what's right for the police department at this time.
And then positive, we've got several female leaders up here. This is very cool. Kind of talk to that. And this, I think you're the first female chief.
I am.
First female police chief, first female fire chief.
Yes.
Speak to that.
It's an honor and a privilege. I, have done a lot of thinking about it. The question has come up. I don't want to be remembered as the first female chief. I want people to recognize that females can be chiefs. I don't want to be the last.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Monica.
Another question for Chief Parker, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
When it comes to transparency, how transparent will you be? Because we know that, your predecessor, Medina, he mentioned that he cleared his phone of emails and calls so they wouldn't be IPRA. So if we were to IPRA you in the future, would we be able to get that information?
So I think there are checks and balances. There is reality to what Chief Medina said. We received thousands of text messages. If they are pertinent to the public and they are public record, they will not be deleted.
Okay.
This is a question for Mr. Buhanda. I wanted to know, your first week, what are some of the tasks and things that you're hoping to accomplish? And I was also curious how long your term is.
So on the term, I would turn that to the mayor. But but as far as what I plan on doing first is listening, right? You don't ever show up to a place and think you got all the answers. Just because I know these individuals, I know these amazing women, I want to learn from them what they consider to be important, what they consider to be important for the city and their departments, and then kind of go from there.
So the terms, all mayoral appointees essentially just serve at the pleasure of the mayor. They can extend through other administrations. It's obviously up to a new administration. And the only exception is the city attorney and the city clerk. They actually have a term which corresponds with the appointing mayor.
Also kind of speaking to, the naysayers of not just, maybe this could be a continuation of Chief Medina, but just a continuation from internally hiring an APD chief. Maybe this is a question for the mayor, but how serious were your considerations of outside candidates as well? And what do you say to that argument of, we might need some fresh blood with APD? That is something we've heard from the public.
Sure. So a couple of things. First, people often ask any mayor, what's your actual job? And you kind of tell them day to day and stuff. But I just want to highlight that these types of decisions are some of the most important decisions any mayor makes. It is picking the executive team. That is pretty much, other than emergency situations and accountability situations, which can involve removing a team member. that is, so it's done with great care. And so we got to this place with these two individuals through thinking about some of those issues. I don't think anyone can say that the city has the same leadership team as it did under the previous chief when Raul Bruhanda is the public safety director. Like, that is totally contradictory to the old administration in that sense. So that's one piece. And the other one is what Chief Parker said. She is a totally different leader, totally different style. Without going, style, like literally, she is very data driven. She's very systematic. She's very process oriented. And she's actually very thoughtful in terms of long-term change. And it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. None of those would really describe the past chief. He was the right guy for a right time when we needed a shot in the arm. We were behind in the DOJ, we were behind on crime, and we had to have somebody come in and rough up the place. That time has passed. And so now we're in a different era, an APD that needs a new kind of leadership. In part, some civilian leadership from someone with some experience like Raul. And also a chief with a very different approach towards managing the department, like Cecily Parker.
This question might be for Mayor Keller. I know that you mentioned that this is a role that existed previously. What kind of caused you guys to maybe move away from the role and want to bring it back? And are the responsibilities going to look a little different than it was previously?
Sure. Samantha, you might want to chime in too. So I'll just say from my perspective, I think any mayor who comes in, and I can only speak to myself and the past two, they see this issue where let's be honest. Like, do I have law enforcement experience? I think at this point I have a little bit in terms of just doing the job, but most politicians don't. They don't, and often a CAO doesn't. And as I mentioned, the CAO is in charge of the city fundamentally under the charter. So the question is, how are you going to support the chiefs, and how are you going to also manage without any experience? Now, fortunately, I've been doing that for 8 years. But it's never lost on me that it would be better if we had someone who did have some experience. So that's the fundamental reason, I think, why people come back to that. And again, for me, I just couldn't find the right person. And it was you can't have somebody, in my opinion, who is from APD in that role. It makes it almost impossible for the chief. I don't think it works, again, just my opinion, somebody from even just straight police like in New Mexico, because there's a lot of interdepartmental sort of situations. It's just hard to do that. And I think it does, for me, I don't think it really works to just have like a lawyer or a civilian. I think you need someone with law enforcement experience that is not from police. And so all of a sudden he retired. And I'll be honest, I've worked with him literally in those situations that I mentioned. And I thought one day if I'm looking for a public safety chief, I was going to call him. And so luckily he said yes.
I have one more question for Raul Buhanda. I imagine that the last time you were in front of news cameras, it was talking about, public corruption of the police department within this very city. Did you see yourself ever working for the city of Albuquerque? And then what sold you on this job ultimately?
So I think it goes back to even some of the things you've mentioned when you were asking, comparing, Chief Medina with Chief Barker, night and day. Both very good leaders, but very different. So if you're any concerns that you're going to get, more of the same, kind of what you were getting to, Anne, but the complete opposite, because she is, just like the mayor said, so much driven as far as when it comes to data, when it comes to technology, and taking this department to the next level. As far as, did I see myself back in this role? I always knew that I wanted to always be in public service. That was what I started, 27 years ago. And when I left for a short time, and it was almost 11 months, I missed it. I missed kind of just being in the community and being in a role where I can make a difference and be impactful. So when that call came, I was ready for it. I was ready to jump for it, because that's something that I always wanted to do. And to work with, and let's be honest, when you think of New Mexico and you go on to your TikTok or your social media, what are they thinking about when they say New Mexico? They say Albuquerque. Albuquerque is just a city within the state, but Albuquerque drives what this state kind of goes and what direction it goes and what opinions people have of us. So if you want to be impactful, you go work for the biggest city in the state. Yeah.
question for you. So just kind of wondering, before again, Chief mentioned that, you know, the public is a part of that, it's in the title, Public Safety Director. It's a part of the role, and you mentioned when I first asked you what you would be doing in it, you mentioned removing obstacles for the other chiefs. How is the public playing a role in this?
So, no, that's a good question. So my biggest thing has always been to be a part of the public. So I am going to be an advocate, listening not directly from the public, because I want to hear from them to see what it is that we're doing well, what is it that we need to improve on, and what is it that still kind of concerns them. Again, going back to what I said, I want to make sure that they're not only feeling safe in their homes, in their parks, and regardless where they go every single day, in their communities. So that's going to be my biggest driver, to make sure that I'm out there and I'm getting out there.
Is that like town halls or your email address, your cell phone number?
You know, it's all of it, and I have, you know, I want to make sure that I'm out there and supporting the mayor and making sure that we're getting everything that needs to be done, and just being, like I've always been, an advocate for our state.
I think Samantha wants to add a little bit on that.
I think it's a really important question when we ask, you know, where's the public's role in this work, and what will Mr. Buhanda do in relation to that? You have to remember we have the CPCs, the Community Policing Councils, which are already organized. They're regularly attended by our police department, the leadership, and I think Raul will have a really important role in ensuring that we're connecting those voices to the work that we do across our entire public safety system. So oftentimes in those meetings, they're bringing up things that are not directly about policing. They're bringing up matters that are related to public safety and the interconnectedness of multiple departments. And I think that's really what we're focused on with this role, is truly thinking about how you bring the public's voice into a system and think about response. We've had so many focused conversations in many ways around all the pieces of public safety, which, by the way, are across the entire criminal justice system outside of the city's control. And oftentimes when we think about how to improve our outcomes for the community and ensure we're delivering on what the community asks of us, we need that coordination with the entire criminal justice system. And I think that public voice and the many different ways that the city today already has avenues for the public to convene and participate, Mr. Buhanda will have a key role in every one of those.
Any last questions? Okay, thank you, everybody.